Oh, you've come to my side of the neighborhood again, huh? I feel like we've been here before. Some kind of awkward trope talk, maybe. Not entirely sure, but the name sounds familiar. You look different, though. Do we know each other? Nah, I didn't think so. I know a lot of people, but welcome to my side, Camarocho. Or Bodymore, wherever this is, really. Now, let's get serious. I needed to talk to you about some things. Some stuff and things. I've heard you laying some ground rules, making some decisions for other people. I don't want to talk about it. You know, just friendly neighborhood Majima talking. That's all that I do, right? Right? I got one eye on everything. It's fine. So let's talk. Let's take a seat. Huh? I know that you can handle it. Don't worry about being intimidated. It's all gonna be fine, sweetie. Let's take a seat and talk about some of these thoughts, huh? At the end of the day, I'm a nice guy. Couldn't make a face like this if I wasn't. Hello everybody, my name is Ian Kirkpattykake. I'm an author, idiot, and loin streamer, obviously getting a little more idiotic every single day. It is infecting my mind. But here we are, back into the chair, in the eye patch, the all-seeing eye patch, where you don't miss anything, because you can only see half of it. Today I wanted to do a response video to Jenna Streety, because earlier last week she released a video called How to Write Female Characters that was more about personal politics than actual tips on how to write. And when greeted with disagreement, she determined to delete all of the comments and then brag about it on Twitter while deleting all of the comments. And also smearing the people whose comments she deleted so that she could act a victim. Now, I don't typically like to get into this stuff, but misleading people with writing advice is one thing, and then lying to create a victimhood status is another thing. Deceit is a problem for me, and not only because deceit created daddy issues. But before we get started, number one, if you enjoy what I do on this channel, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Fund the transformation. Do you like the six-pack? Do you want to see the six-pack again? Then like, share, and subscribe. Number two, if you would like to be featured on the channel, check out the links down in the description below. Number one way to be featured here is through Lamwai, where I give you guys a monthly prompt. You create something genius, keyword on create. And then the first Monday video of the month is a feature of your guys' creative genius. The second way to be featured here is if you are an indie author and you've got a book out there, submit your first chapter and your cover to the Fresh Meat feature. It will be read here on the channel, and hopefully that'll help more readers find your content, because the hardest thing about being indie is finding ways to reach readers, really, like for real. And that's what I hope to do here. And then the third thing is, if you would like to check out any of my books, they're not this level of insanity yet, they may be someday. Katsuo's story is coming. But if you would like to check out any of my books, they're available anywhere that you get books, and I would appreciate it, and I hope that you enjoy what you read. With that said, let's jump into the story. Let's jump into this. So who is Jenna Streety? She is an author tuber, as far as I'm aware. She writes fantasy, sci-fi, something in that area. And she is currently querying her novel, is what it sounds like. I only discovered her through this video. Don't know anything about her otherwise. And I actually just found this video so egregious in the content. But then she started deleting comments. And unfortunately, when you've got another video that says how to basically check to make sure that that you're getting good advice, and then one of your things is make sure that the comments are not like disagreeing with this person dramatically, and then you start deleting comments that disagree with you, I'm seeing some dishonest practices here. So, you know, let's put this in a way that cannot necessarily be deleted. Because I don't want to see authors misled Jenna Streety said some things in this video that I just wanted to respond to make sure to get an alternate perspective out there, since also I think her perspective is one that is very common. So we're going to get into that today. Hope you enjoy. Now we are freaking DJ Majima. Freaking, let's use some gloves on the computer. Use freaking Kevlar gloves, my friend. This is not... I am ready. Apparently I am ready for a fight. I've already lost one eye taking on author tubers, okay? This is Jenna Streety. Her video will also be linked down in the description below. Please do not go and harass her, but if you want to converse about the contents of this video, I look forward to them down in the comments below.
Your female characters should have agency outside of other characters, especially male characters. Hi, I'm Jenna, and I write science fiction fantasy novels and
especially outside of male characters. We'll get to that.
Help you put the magic back into writing. And this month is Women's History Month, so I decided to kick it off right with a video all about how to write strong female characters. Yes, number one thing is that your character should have agency, goals, aspirations outside of other characters. Do not base your entire female character's perspective and life experience off of what the men around them are doing in their lives and what they want to do for or with the men in their lives.
Perhaps this needed more perspective or more expanding on from what she means by this, but I fail to see the problem with making a strong female character whose goals have to do with others. What was just expressed right now is to have a strong female character, her goals have to be internal. Why? I am obviously going to disagree with this because I think strong female characters are strong because of who they are and not because they are selfish. Obviously, I'm also going to disagree with this because of the types of female characters that I write that I believe are strong. We're going to get into stuff like Joey from Bodymore, where she is loyal and protects the people that she cares about and loves the people that she cares about. And she is a strong female character because she pursues things in spite of fear and in spite of danger to protect what she cares about the most. Depending on how you frame the way that she acts, you could say that she is acting in self-interest because the people around her give her value and give her love that she craves and desires. But that's not any different than the way that Ralph, who is also from that series, who in Bodymore Zero, you learn just how much he craves love and family and affection and has never been given it, but that's all that he pursues. Why would it be okay and not sexist for Ralph to want to desire a family, but it is sexist for Joey to want a family just because she's female? I think there's an inherent problem in saying this is a weak female character for having external motivators for caring about things outside of herself, when a male character can do the same thing and not be considered that. In fact, I think that this is a flip on what is considered heroic versus not heroic, because being selfish is not heroic. You also have, for my character repertoire, you have Hitomi, who everything that she has done, she's sacrificed her life, her youth, her going to school to take care of her family's legacy through the business of the restaurant that goes back 3 generations because her father fell apart, and she cares about her legacy, about her family, about her namesake. And that gives her so much motivation to work so hard for the people that she cares about. I don't understand how Jenna could say that caring about other people makes you weak, because that is what I get away from. That's what I take away from the way that she just said that. And maybe it needs to be expanded on to give it more detail as to what that means. But I don't see the weakness in saying caring about others makes you weak. A male character caring about others does not make them weak. Why is she associating care for others to weakness?
Especially. But even when it comes to other female characters, why are they all centered around each other? Why can someone not want something for themselves? A lot of the times I see this with motivations for characters simply being their family or a loved one, their romantic partner, something like that. We so often see...
Maybe I need some exact situations that she's referring to, again, for this thing, because I don't see the intrinsic weakness in being motivated to care for or want to protect others. Why is selfishness considered a strength in this context? There is some value in selfishness. If you look at Ayn Rand, I mean, is she Randian? She could be. She could be.
The female characters only represented and only wanting a singular thing that is outside of themselves. Why? Because it is seen as inherently negative if a woman and a female character want something for themselves. Let your female characters...
One, I haven't seen this. It is inherently selfish for any character to consider themselves above others and to seek out what they want at the behest or disadvantage or destruction of others. It doesn't matter what you identify as. It's a villain's act to put yourself above like other people in that way, knowing that those people were stolen from, but you've got your priorities above everybody else's. However, it's a heroic act to risk yourself for the betterment of others. It doesn't matter what your sex is. Leaning into total selfishness and having all of your character drives be like, well, I don't care how it affects you. I'm going to do what I want. Inherently makes your story a villain story. And I've seen this so much. His name was Augustin, was all about Swanee. And go ahead, I hope that you read it. If you want to see a female character who only chases after things for herself to the point that it destroys and kills her family, her friends, her daughter gets raped and murdered and sent to her in a box. Her son risks his life, trades his life to cover over Swanee's actions that have destroyed the family. He loses his name and his place in history to cover for his mother's continually selfish desires. She cheated on her husband for 20 years. She had 4 husbands in the section of 6 books, and she cheated on every last one of them. And I'm supposed to see this as a heroic woman. She was fine with destroying everyone around her to chase demonic dick. And a strong character does not necessarily mean heroic. But I see a lot of people taking this idea of a strong female character, of being selfish, and then trying to gaslight me into thinking that they're a hero when they're not.
To have selfish desires. Let them have things that are not seen as female characteristics, especially when it comes to things that they want. This could.
What is a female characteristic? Can we define this? Is she saying that caring for others is a female characteristic? Is she saying that female characters should be less female in order to be strong female characters? Are we associating strength with maleness right now? Because that's what it sounds like to me.
Things like revenge, or it could be them showing.
Do you know how many revenge stories I have seen for female characters? Are you telling me that revenge is not female? Can I bring up... I dug my keys into the side of his beat up 4-wheel drive, carved my name into his leather seats. I took a Louisville Slugger to both headlights, slashed a hole in all 4 tires. Maybe next time he'll think before he cheats. Are you trying to tell me that rage and revenge are not female embraced things? I spit on his grave. The girl with the dragon tattoo. There are so many stories. One of my grandmother's favorite genres is female revenge stories. Okay, she's a 60s feminist. Don't tell me that revenge is not feminine or not done for women. It is so done.
Emotions like anger. These things.
Are you telling me anger is not a female emotion? Hell hath no fury like a woman's scorn. Have we heard of this before?
Things are typically not seen very ladylike. Please, give me your most unladylike female characters.
Okay, so she just confirmed, give me your most unladylike female characters. So in order to make female characters strong, you have to divorce them from their femininity. That is what I take from this. What else is this trying to say other than her flat out saying, make them less female-like, ladylike, in order to make them strong female characters? Again, I disagree. I have to go back. Hitomi is such a great example of a strong female character because of her loyalty, because of her perseverance, because of her kindness, and the way that she cares for those around her, and the way that she pays attention to those around her. And the best way to figure out your character's strengths is to take their strengths and make them to the most obvious, that it then turns into a disadvantage. And that is what then causes tension with that character and those around them. Because any strength taken to its extreme is going to cause a weakness, is going to cause a problem and tension with the others around them. And to tell me that Hitomi, who runs a restaurant that she inherited from her father and her grandfather, because it's possible that you're like, oh, so your female character cooks. Yes, she loves cooking. She expresses her love through cooking. She bonded with her father through cooking. That was their legacy. But is it somehow less appropriate, makes her weaker because she cooked, but her father was not feminine? Are we assigning genders also now to activities instead of and emotions? What actually matters? Strength doesn't come from being male or female. Strength comes from inherent characteristics of who you are as a person and how you treat others and what you value and how you act in the face of fear or danger or tension. And that seems to be missing here. Instead, we've got this how to write a female character is by making them less ladylike. That feels like you're saying the only way to write women is to get rid of women. The only way to write a strong woman is to not have women.
Why? Because they're still women, and women do experience all of these emotions, and they're just not shown as doing so. Why? Because we do not like the unlikable female character.
That's not true. I have read so many books recently that justify terrible female behavior, and as long as the other characters in the book are like, yeah, this is great, then nobody in the book questions it. But I do think that there is a problem within reading and writing where people think that your character has to be likable. I've run into that a lot with Joey because Joey is going through some emotional problems and she is kind of out of control, as you'd expect. She has so many issues she hasn't dealt with that she actually acts out. And I have received so many comments about her being unlikable. She's kind of going through trauma. Kind of understandable, right? When you've grown up with an abusive father beating you for 15 years and you were abandoned basically by both your parents and you experienced your dad killing himself because you walked out of the house, like you're gonna have some issues. So I do agree that it can be difficult. And this is just my theorizing, so feel free to drag me in the comments. But sometimes it feels like readers are totally okay with the unkind, abusive male characters because you've got this like, I can fix him mentality. But if it's a female character doing this, then you have a harder time doing like a self-insert and living through that character because she's difficult. You want to be the girl that fixes the bad boy. You don't want to be the girl that is being fixed by somebody else because you've got problems or is going through a journey because you've got problems, right? That's kind of a trend that I have more noticed. But I've talked about, I don't think characters have to be necessarily likable. They're not always likable.
Male characters are typically allowed to have negative traits. They're typically allowed to want things that are more selfish and more self-serving than themselves, and they're still seen as likable characters.
Look, again, I think it's the I can fix him thing, the bad boy thing, and the girls' characters don't have that same trope, and I don't know if female readers have the same approach to that if you acknowledge that they're bad. But this also kind of gets into a bigger conversation of like dark romance and abusive relationships, transgressive relationships, and what is praised or the gaslighting behind negative male traits and negativity in relationships and what is seen as good and bad. That's something totally
But the second you give those same traits and those same attributes and those same wants to female characters, they are no longer seen as likable characters, and thus they are harder to sell. But the more often that we as writers break that mold and allow characters to just be authentic and real characters who have selfish desires, who have things that they want for themselves, and have negative traits or traits that are seen as more masculine in nature, we allow for more characters like that to be.
Look, I think there needs to be a little more nuance allowed in writing and having characters of various things. But I also think that I have run into some things with Guns and Smoke, another strong female character that follows the selfish thing where she's then, getting sexual and totally fine with having sex in front of a 10-year-old to the point that the 10-year-old is groomed. Terrible person. Jesse is also a terrible person for allowing that to happen. They don't get to be let go for the way that they treat a child. They don't get to be let go. Both male and female, they both get the same punishment and judgment for how they acted, both in front of a child and just in general. Like, don't tell me in Guns and Smoke when Jesse and Bonnie are hot for each other and they're like, oh, I need to go have sex right now. They go, what about Henry? He's in the room. And they're like, whatever, he's asleep. He won't notice. You're going to fuck in front of a 10-year-old in a shared hotel room. Just go out to the alleyway. Don't do it in front of a 10-year-old. They both get dragged for that. They both get dragged for how they treat Clara, which is also a problem, is the demonization of other females in the works, which is also what I feel like is being done here. And I don't know if it's what Jenna's intentions are, but when you're demonizing femininity or women that are strong without being selfish or women that are not like this unladylike thing, you end up demonizing other women who act differently. And that's also what was presented in Guns and Smoke when Clara was introduced, is she was dressed more conservatively. She was dressed more ladylike, while Bonnie was wearing short shorts and was more considered a tomboy because she was an outlaw on the run. And so you had this competition between the two, and we were supposed to basically color code that Clara was bad because she was conservative and ladylike. And that's what bleeds into this sort of stuff, is it's not making strong female characters. It's making competition between characters and demonizing regular traits instead of seeing a diversity in the way in which people are.
Shown. Sexy lampshade syndrome, if you haven't heard of this, this is basically where if you can take a piece of media and you can cut out all of the female characters, or even one of them, hell, any of them, and replace them with a just really sexy lampshade, then you don't have strong female characters. It's a nice test that you can run on your own work.
That doesn't feel real. I think if you're boiling stuff down to like garbage tests that are so generic and they're not analyzing the text and what the text is doing, you don't have anything, and it's just a weak way to pretend that you have something to complain about, as instead of actually analyzing the text.
See whether or not your female characters are two-dimensional, or if you are letting them be flat and able to be easily replaced by a sexy inanimate object. Similar to that, the Bechdel test. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. In your entire work in progress, do two women talk to each other about something other than a man? If they don't, this could be an indicator that you are only revolving your female characters' lives around the aspirations and the wants of men. And guess what? Every character has wants for themselves, especially female characters.
Yeah, what if these female characters' wants for themselves are family? What if these female characters' wants for themselves are children? Like, you can write a book that is plenty without having the female characters talk about men, but what if the characters do want men? Like, this is so limiting and reductive to say, but did this happen? And it's also not a very good test, because you could just have two maids talking about having to clean a table, and that passes the Bechdel test, and somehow that's supposed to be feminist. This is, again, a garbage test to pretend that it means something when it doesn't. You're not analyzing the text. You're not analyzing the meaning of the text. And actually, this reads like male hatred more than anything, because you're just saying, do not allow men at all. Just make your character selfish, self-serving, and fuck anybody that says otherwise. Oh, that's what I wanted to also bring up with Guns and Smoke, is Guns and Smoke talks about embracing your flaws, and it is not healthy. You're an enabler if you embrace the flaws that are destructive, like having sex in front of a child, like permitting slapping people because you disagree with them. Like, that's permitting abuse. And if you say, well, I accept you and you can keep doing that, you are an enabler, not somebody that's loving that person. There's a difference between loving someone in spite of their flaws and loving someone and celebrating their flaws, embracing their flaws, telling them to embrace their flaws. There's a moment in Bodymore 2 where Joey is kind of losing it to the ghost rage that she has, and she picks up a bottle and she throws it, and it would be bad on Jag to tell her that it is okay for her to have angry, violent outbursts like that. Instead, he walks away, and, obviously he's gonna be like, well, we'll see if we're together tomorrow, because that behavior is not acceptable. And you have to confront negative behavior, whether it's in one or the other, if that is a real relationship. This is different than if you're doing the dark romance where your guy is a stalker, bad guy, whatever. But if you want to do real stories, embracing negative traits is not strong. Working through your damaged traits and the signs that you have of abuse is what makes you strong. Working with others is what makes you strong. Your desire to push through what hurts you, what scares you, what is painful to become a better person is what makes you strong, not inherent selfish desire at the expense of everyone else.
Have you ever met a woman who said that they didn't want something? Like, even if it's just something as mundane as, I want McDonald's, or I want to go to the store to go shopping, or I want to go kill the person who murdered my entire family in a heat of revenge, whatever it is.
I've heard that third one so many times. That's a plot of so many books. I don't understand where you're coming from with this position.
Allow your characters to want things. Gender nonconformity. This is a huge topic that I feel like is better suited for someone who is either non-binary or trans to talk a little bit more about, but I will raise the question for you. Where is it? Is your character who is a woman a tomboy, or are they actually non-binary or trans?
This is actually offensive to me because Joey is she's a tomboy. She is gender non-conforming in the way that she presents because she's a mechanic. She's got the short hair. You should see her cute pictures with her short tomboyish hair where she looks pretty boyish, really. She likes skateboarding. She doesn't dress feminine. And to make this assumption that she's somehow no longer female or dressing in this nonconformist way makes her more of a strong character than somebody who dresses femininely is such a bogus claim. Also, I'm gender nonconforming right now, bro. Don't question me. I've got more authority on this.
Obviously something that you would want to take up with a sensitivity reader, someone who actually has that lived experience. And I'd recommend you not make your main character those things if you yourself are not those things. But I would also ask you, are you writing that experience because you feel like it relates to you? And if so, are you actually needing to go on a journey of your own? Because I feel like when it comes to novels, they are a great way for us to explore parts of ourselves where we consciously wouldn't want to explore these aspects, but when we put it in a fictional context, we are then more comfortable exploring these things. This often happens with people's sexualities. They're like, oh no, I'm just writing a gay character because I think it's really interesting. Well, maybe it's because you're gay. Whatever the reasoning may be.
Why? Okay, this is disturbing to me. Why is she so invasive on your personal business? Also, where is the line between, hey, maybe you're writing this thing because you are this thing? Look, some people do explore themselves through their fiction. Whether they do or not is none of your business. But that's also a reason why the whole idea of sensitivity readers is trash for this. Because if somebody is not if somebody has not outwardly said where they fall on the gender spectrum and you pressure them into, hey, you can't write about that thing because you aren't that thing, you're now blackmailing them and threatening them out of the closet to out themselves. In a lot of cases, in many cases, it's not safe for the people who are exploring their sexuality or expressing their sexuality in their fiction to be that honest. And now you are prying like it's your business to know what they're doing. But it's also insane to me to see someone in the same video saying, write what you want to write what you want to read via the strong female characters, via being selfish, break the gender binary, but then also say you must be qualified to write something. And maybe if you're writing it, you might mean that you have a psychological disorder or something that's wrong with you. Write what you want to write, but also, if you write a novel with only one female character into it, which we'll get into later in this video, she says if you write a novel with only one female character in it, you've got an internal bias. So are we writing what we want to write for whatever reason it is, or do we have to justify literally every choice that we make to you specifically so you don't call us a bigot on Twitter to try to get likes? Like, my choices with male characters have a reason. So you're sitting over here saying that you're not gender non-binary or non-conforming, so other people should talk on that. But you're also totally willing to force people to have to out themselves on the choices that they make in order to justify why they might have more male characters or very few female characters, if any.
Maybe, obviously, just look within yourself and decide, is this character actually trans? Are they non-binary? Are they something else entirely? Or are they even supposed to be a woman at all? I find a lot of times women try to only write women characters and men only try to write men characters, but then sometimes the lines get blurred when really the character should have been the other gender all along.
I don't understand why we're talking about this in a video on how to write strong female characters. This has nothing to do with writing strong female characters. You're now just insinuating people are gay and then saying, well, maybe you meant to write something else entirely anyway.
And just something for you to dive in deeper for yourself. Similar to that is respecting pronouns and identity. I don't know what is up with this trope where if a woman says that they want something or that they are something, that then it's just subverted, like you'll just get over it. I see this most of the time when it comes to women in books who say that they don't want kids, and then you have a flash forward at the end where they have like 6 running little mini-me's of them around for no reason.
That just sounds like somebody who hates kids. I don't want to make assumptions about Jenna, but the way that you say that just does not sound good. But you're talking about people saying they want something and then changing what they want. People can change their mind. When you go through a series of events in a book, you can often change the more traumatic things that you go through may change your perspective on life, may change your perspective on the things that you want or desire or where you want it to be. So a woman saying, hey, I don't really want kids at the beginning of a book series, and then maybe 5, 6, 7 years down the line, she goes, you know what? I changed my mind. I kind of do want kids. Not a problem. I don't understand this idea that you have to choose a side and then just stick with it.
Other than to just wrap up the plot really quickly. Personally, I know a lot of people hate this trope, not only when it's just thrown in at the end, and not only when it is a character who specifically has said that they do not want children, but also is just a way of, okay, so you're saying that this woman's life and story ends as soon as she has children and everything is wrapped up neatly with a bow, but women who have kids and everyone who has kids and children, no matter what their gender is, they can have adventures and have stories after their children already exist. Why is...
Okay, there are stories, Jenna. There are stories that take place after a woman's had the children. There are stories that end after around the time the woman has children, because the story that there is to tell with that character is just over. You mentioned that there are a lot of people that don't like this trope. There are also a lot of people that do like this trope, that see meaning in this trope, that see meaning in a story of like the Hunger Games ending with Katniss having children, and that showing that she has hope for the future, that her mindset of the cynicism and the nihilism of their society, it has changed over the course of her actions and the things that she has been through. There is meaning behind these choices, and sometimes it's just lazy wrap up bad writing, which I've seen done in a lot of things. I'm looking at you, Yakuza Kiwami. But I don't understand demonizing one version of something to then say my version is better, I like this thing better. Look, you can have both tropes. If you don't like this trope the way that it is, then don't write it. But to demonize that is the end result that some people want, that a lot of people want, again, we go back to the situation of Hitomi, which Hitomi is probably everything that would not be considered a strong female character by the likes of this video. But Hitomi lost her father when she was 15, 16. She lost her mother when she was like 13. And all she wanted was a family. Eventually, when she got with her husband, she was so excited to have her children. She ends up having 3 sons. They're wonderful. Katsuo is the man. But her having that desire to have a family when she lost her family, when she hasn't gotten to have a family, doesn't make her a weak female character. It's just, that's where a story ends. This kind of reminds me of Paul Tremblay when he said, like, The Exorcist was a conservative horror flick because it ends without seeing the fallout, all of the fallout of what happened with The Exorcist. And it's basically like, well, you could have just did a time skip 20 years in the future to show how she's still bothered, but because it didn't show the next part of her life and how she suffered psychological damage for the next 20 years, then it's hiding the fact that there was negative psychological damage. Bro, you're asking for another story. This story was about that exorcism situation, not what happens in the next 20 years. So if a story ends with somebody having a child, it's not saying her adventures are over. It's saying the main bulk, the main plot of that story is over. If you want the story about motherhood, then go find the books where the children are born. That's just a different storyline, a different plot line. I, for one, can say that I absolutely hate the plot line of any parent determining that they need to abandon their children in order to go and find themselves. That's damaging. But also, it's exactly what this sort of advocates for, is have your own selfish desires outside of caring for other people. That's the way that you destroy an entire lineage of people. You give them self-worth issues and doubt issues because parent didn't care for them. That affects people so much deeper than you know.
Is it that we suddenly jump in an epilogue where everyone is married, happy, in a relationship, has babies, when really there's still so many stories that could be told in that universe after that point. They could have adventures while they have kids.
They could, but maybe the author doesn't want to tell that part of the story. You could tell that part of the story with your fan fiction, but the author is under no obligation to continue a story once they feel like it's done. That's like telling me that after Joey finishes Bodymore 3, I should keep writing after the end of Bodymore 3 when I've got no more story that I want to tell, because her arc is complete.
They could have adventures when they're married. Why does everything just suddenly stop and get nicely written up in a bow as soon as someone has a child? Why? Because we still believe that a woman's life in her maidenhood and in her adventurous stage ends as soon as she has children. And
no, we don't believe that. I think the insinuation that we believe that means you believe that. And that might be an internal bias check on yourself. But you're just asking for a story that wasn't the one that was written, that wasn't the plot line that was written. Go and look at all of the Ice Planet Barbarians goes into this specifically.
So that is a trope that we have unfortunately been seeing a lot of. And I would challenge you to subvert it or to just simply not do it.
Subverting a trope isn't automatically
especially when it comes to a lot of YA
saying.
books that are out there, why are we teaching young girls that all of a sudden their fun adventures stop as soon as they have kids and get married?
Okay, do you understand that the general trajectory of a YA plot is somebody finding their place in the world, because the coming of age trope idea itself is coming up and finding what you want, getting what you want, finding where you belong in the world. So of course, once she gets to where she wants to be, that plot line ends, right? That's why that's what's in YA. Having children is not a YA plot. Living the family life is not a YA plot. If you want those books about post family creating, go and read adult books. Why are you asking for adult plots in YA books? That is the real question. Don't read new adult or YA if you want to be past the beginning stages of things, because the beginning stages of things are pretty much all that is in those. And I've noticed that a lot of books do focus on the meeting of characters instead of the building of relationships between them, or the pre-built relationships and how those characters work together. But YA is specifically about finding your place and getting along with others. What you're asking for feels to me like the antithesis of YA books. But let me know what everybody else thinks in the comments below.
And it's always in that order too. It's very rare when you ever see a story especially targeted towards a younger audience, like in YA, where you have someone who had kids out of wedlock, you had kids and you were still going on an adventure, and you're not the mom figure in the book, you're actually the main character or a side character. Usually it's the mom who ends up being a negative role, who ends up telling people.
Why aren't books about people with children in YA? This tells me you have a fundamental misunderstanding of who YA is for. Do you think a 13-year-old cares? Look, the parents are made so incompetent in general in YA books for a reason. It's kids saving the world. If this is your complaint, I feel like you need to graduate to adult books, because that's what you're asking for, to be inserted into YA.
Well, not to go on adventures. Respect pronouns of your characters, but then also respect their identities as people who either don't want to have kids, someone who doesn't want to get married, or other things along those lines.
Or respect the people who want to change their minds.
If the character says that they want or don't want something, I would respect that rather than trying to override what they want so that you can wrap it up in a little bow that is based off of your beliefs about gender.
Or let them change their minds.
The first point that I had is that not only do female characters have wants or attributes that are seen as more masculine or negative for a woman to have, and those should be shown in a more positive light than they are, but also they're going to have their own flaws. They're going opinions. They are all around going to be their own person. Don't base their attributes and their flaws, characters, opinions, and personality off of characters around them. Instead, try to base it off of their environment, how they grew up, their lived life experiences. One thing I've noticed as well is that if you have a character who's the main character in a book or a side character and their mother is present in the story, a lot of the times you'll see them as a little mini-me copy of their mothers. This overall is a really negative thing that just women in general do to them.
I've only ever seen that in characters that are villainized. Like when you go into Cinderella, where the stepsisters are just like their mother. I've never seen the mini-me used in a positive way. It is always demonized, and I've never seen the mini-me done in real life. It's just a trope that is used to demonize motherhood, quite honestly, and to demonize stepmotherhood is what I've seen.
And I'm tired of seeing it in personal and friend and groups and in books. Because yes, while a child may have come from your body, they are not an extension of you. You may love your child, you may want to take care of them as much as feasibly possible, but going so far as to dress your child exactly like you, give them the hand-me-downs of your clothes, have them only be able to do things that you yourself would do, only able to make them believe what you believe. For all the moms out there, not great, don't do that.
What does this have to do with writing female characters? I feel like you're just telling mothers how to mother now.
That they're their own person, but then also too, we see this in books all the time. We see this in media all the time. Typically, I do see it in more of the negative light of, I want to be my own person, you know, trope of teenagehood, which is valid, but then also sometimes it is not consciously done. We see a lot of times where someone is a little mini-me for a parental figure, whether it is a father or a mother. I would ask for us to move past that trope, to be honest with you. I think it's time to kind of bury that idea that your child is going to grow up exactly like you, and I think it's dangerous when we put it into media and we say that that's the normal thing.
Oh my
if you want to subvert it, however, if you want to turn it on its head, if you want to make a critique of it, then more than welcome. I think those are very much still needed in society, because unfortunately parents still do have this view that...
Can you give me an example of where this is used in a positive light? Because like you said, generally it's used in a way of the character breaking out and finding their own identity, which is part of the YA trajectory of coming of age. And if it's not that, then it's used as a villain trope where the stepmother and the daughters are the same, and it's pushing the main character into a corner of being demonized for being different.
You're my child, you are a part of me. You can then only do what I would do. You can only do what I would say. You can only believe what I believe. And I feel like we need to hopefully help parents move past that idea.
I don't think it's your job to tell parents what to do. I also don't think that it's your job to write fiction to make children fight with their parents. And that's kind of what I walk away from this with.
Concept entirely. And, you know, books have power. Books and words we can change the world with. So why don't we put things in books that we want to see more? Or critiquing things that we want to see less? Next.
Yeah, that right there is a statement of she's not writing fiction for fun. She's not writing fiction for entertainment. But this is a person with an agenda writing an agenda to tell you how to think and act based on how she's writing. That would make me very suspect of anything that she writes because she thinks she knows better.
Tough and strong do not just mean bodily strength. I think we think of a strong female character, we think of characters like Black Widow, Katniss Everdeen, people who had a lot of strong physical strength to them. However, that is not all that a strong female character is. They are also compassionate, they are also adventurous.
Compassion has to do with other people. I was told to use less caring about other people in my female characters to make them strong.
They are also brave. What makes a strong female character, in my opinion, is that
bravery also kind of generally has to do with other people.
They can have those great, cool traits about them, and they could be physically fit and strong, or they could be maybe bodily a little bit more weak, but they still have a strength in their character. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good character. They could be a fucking asshole, but if you build them correctly where they're an in-depth character, they can stand on their own, then guess what? They are a strong character who can be on their own without the necessity of having a man back their story, back their characteristics, and overall hold something over the female character. So like here.
Can you give an example of that? Because I don't understand what it is that you're saying, and it's just an implication that the only way to be strong is in spite of male characters.
No matter their gender, be nice and strong and stand on their own 2 feet. All of your characters should, even occasional side characters who pop in and out of the story. So why do we think that that's something that women characters shouldn't have?
Who tells you that this is something that women characters shouldn't have? Who has done this to you? Because I've seen nobody say that female characters shouldn't be strong. I've experienced way too many selfish female characters getting exactly what they want in the last couple of years and being gaslit that somehow makes them a hero.
It's sexism. That's all it is. Next is emotions with depth and complexity. Typically when you see a book written, especially from a man's perspective, and it is of a woman.
Number one, pointing out specifically that somebody's immutable characteristic is something that makes them a bad writer is sexist. How are you gonna do, I'm a strong woman, this is how to write strong women, but then say, but fuck men. Men are a problem when writing women. I have seen women write selfish character. I have seen women write the badass, no emotion character. Hi, Lightlark. I have seen women write the overly emotional, exceptionally emotional female characters. Men and women typically write the same style of bad. It's just different sorts. It's just to different levels.
They will express emotions the way a man does, or where they expect women to express their emotions. All the time we hear about the trope of women being super emotional, so when we have works written by men of women, a lot of the times we have overly emotional female characters.
But women write that too. That's not a male thing.
And this is basically just a trope, because if you've ever actually seen a woman who's experiencing a lot of emotions, most of the time they do not act the way that men expect them to, or how men are.
Did you just generalize how women have emotional responses? I've seen very, very emotional women. Do I need to go back to Kelly Clarkson keying somebody's car? Because there are some women that just have high emotional expressions. There are some women that cry at literally the smallest thing possible. And then there are some women that are more stoic. It's just a spectrum that is based on individualism. But it sounds from this that what's being said is that all women experience one version of expression, and it is emotional deadness.
Able to guess that they will react. One of the greatest examples of this I've seen recently has been a TikTok trend where,
oh my gosh, are you telling me?
Where it is how people expect you to react versus how you react. And
are you telling me that you are using TikTok as a research method for what reality is? Girl, people are over there pretending that they're kissing their brother in order to get likes. Can we please not pretend that TikTok is some legitimate field study of anything?
All the time it's like one side is person crying, screaming, like this is how you would expect this person to act in rage, but in reality this is how a woman reacts.
You need to
to
touch
when
grass.
rage.
I'm sorry,
and
but you need to touch grass
on the side
if you
where
think
they actually
TikTok
reacted,
is the
which was very
legitimate.
silent. You could just see in their eyes the absolute burning rage behind it. And I think that is one of the main ways that male writers fuck up when they write female characters, is that when female characters get angry, they'll be throwing punches, they'll be screaming, crying, you know, freaking out, all in all. But if you've ever met a woman who's absolutely enraged, you will see how calm and collected and dangerous she is.
Oh my god. That's a girl boss right there. I know just from that sentence that I feel like Jenna's book is going to have girl bosses in it, because freaking women experience emotions different ways based on individual biology and the way that they have been socially conditioned specifically. Some will be more emotional, some will be less emotional. Not every woman will key your car. Not every woman is just going to have a burning rage in their eyes that will then poison you when the time is right. There is a spectrum, and it is the dumbest thing I have ever heard to say TikTok is some authority on female emotion and to delegitimize the experience of every other female who doesn't experience emotion like TikTok has shown you they experience. Are you joking me?
Yeah, not for every character, and definitely depends on the situation, but I do not honestly see very often where male writers, and even some female writers, will write women's rage correctly, or accurately, I should.
If female writers do it too, then stop targeting male writers. You're being a sexist for targeting male authors specifically for your insults.
Should say. And really, again, it depends on your character, but I've read books where characters most certainly should have been screaming out at the sky, and they weren't even upset at what had happened, and it was valid to be upset, and they weren't, and it makes absolutely no sense for the plot. And on the flip side of that, I have also seen where they are screaming, crying, and upset over something that's, yeah, valid, but it doesn't make sense for them to be reacting that way. As a character, they would become far more cold and detached just based off their life experience, and it doesn't make sense with the way that they're acting. And that's because you can obviously see whether or not someone believes deeply in their subconscious that women are overly emotional. And
no, that's not what it is. That's just bad writing. It's also depends on the perspective of the author. Let's go over to Leather and Lace, which I have a book review here on this channel, where Bonnie is supposed to be this badass outlaw who's gone through all of this terrible stuff, and she knocks down a caged fighter without even trying. She is totally fine talking to all of these killers, being a killer. She murders a guy in the first 5 pages of the first book. However, when a couple of women spill orange juice on her party dress, she breaks down into tears and needs to go and get on a drug high to deal with her negative emotions. That's irrational. That's 2 female authors who wrote that. It's not a subconscious of females are overly emotional. That's getting way too much into somebody else's head with the assumptions of what has created the characters that they make. But that sort of outburst could just be because the female character is not going to bang those 3 female characters, so she prefers the victimhood approach in this situation. But then when dealing with male characters, she's going to butt heads because there's sexual tension in butting heads with the male characters, the enemies to lovers trope. So there are so many reasons for these things. In general, what you're complaining about, though, is bad writing, which is not gender specific.
And it'll show up on the page one point or another. So I just consider with your character and the specific situation that they're in, does a large reaction of either sadness, anger, happiness, etc., is it warranted? Or are you only making a big emotional reaction in them because deep down you think women are overly emotional? Next is the question that you have to ask yourself. Is she the only woman in the book? And in addition to that, if so, why? And I would ask yourself even deeper. And I'd ask yourself even deeper. If it's for a plot reason, why do you feel the need to write a novel with either no or only one female character? It kind of gives the vibe of,
because I feel like it. Why do I need any other answer than this is what my preference is? This is what I naturally do. I'm not like, I don't have a ticker and I'm not like clicking it every time to make sure that I got an equal number or a more or less number of one or the other. Would you ask this question if it was like 1 male and 20 females in one book? I mean, harem, hello. But I don't need to explain why I do the makeup of the characters that I do. And you don't need to assume negativity or malice behind story choices. Read the story. Again, this is the shallowest way to look at any story and to criticize any story. Rather than what is the story doing and how do these characters serve the plot, you just count heads. It doesn't feel like reading to me. It feels like posturing.
Of when a white author doesn't write any people of color into their book and says it's for plot reasons, or only one token person of color in the novel and they probably die. Why do you feel the need to write that? Why
do you feel the need to judge people's choices for stuff that you have no idea why they chose those? You're looking for super artificial reasons, superficial reasons. in order to make character judgments on a person you don't know, rather than looking at the story.
Do you think that the plot like hinges on that fact? If you're gonna say, oh, it's because I'm writing European fantasy, well, guess what? There were people of color all over Europe for basically every single time period, so that's an invalid excuse.
Well, your excuse is also invalid because people can do whatever they want with their fiction, and it has nothing to do with bias or hatred or anything. But you're over here dictating how other people should write, while also telling people that they should write whatever they want to read more and write how they want to write, breaking expectations, but only breaking expectations in the way that you say so.
For starters, and when it comes to women, I can't think of any reason why you would have a book with only one or no female characters in it.
Okay, number one reason why you would have a book with no or one female character in it, it's gay fiction. Easy answer. I read a potato shifter book last year, no female characters in it, because it was gay smut. So that's one reason. Second reason, I know that there's Joey. The only other female character that's mentioned in the book is Soul, and that Soul is genderless because Soul is just a creature that mimics what other people want to see. Why is Joey central in this life with a bunch of men? Because of the position that she has. She doesn't relate well with females. She doesn't relate well with anybody, and she is emotional in ways where she does not connect to other people. She's probably been ostracized, because she's from a troubled background, and she doesn't socialize with females. She kind of just gets put up with by men. She works in a male industry. Her boyfriend she met at work. Her best friend was also socially ostracized, because social circles work different between men and women. There are many reasons why these choices are made. I also naturally just end up making casts that are majority male because of the way that I think, because of my background, which I don't have to disclose to you. But you're going to assume that I'm a bad person because of the sex makeup of my characters, instead of just reading the damn book as it is and finding what the story is that I've created. It's garbage. It's the most superficial way to read a book
Whatsoever, other than ingrained and deeply rooted sexism. So maybe
I don't know. I think there are women that specifically hate female characters. Maybe they start saying you should make your females less female and basically get rid of females. That might be some ingrained sexism. I did read Jack of Hearts that I think is sexist because it demonized women. It demonized straight relationships. The main character's conflict was being forced into a straight relationship. He hated his mother and his best friend, who were both females. So I felt like there was some female hatred in that book. Are we going to talk about that, or does that not count because it's about a gay character? I think that there are authors out there who do have a certain hatred or disgust when talking about female characters, but I don't think that this is necessarily fair for analyzing things on this superficial level.
it's a question you should be asking yourself. Unless this is literally a book with like one character and it's just like their internal monologue the entire time, and even then they should probably think about a woman in their lives at some point. And also that really sounds boring. I don't want to read that book, but you get what I mean. Your 4 plot reasons excuse is an excuse. So are you writing a book?
It is an excuse. It's you do what you need to do for your story. In the same way that you'll do what you need to do for your story, Jenna.
Did any of these help you? Let me know down below, and don't forget.
So what is my takeaway? Parents, don't make your children mini-me's. Make your female characters less ladylike to make them stronger female characters. Make them selfish. Give them desires that do not revolve around caring about other people in any way. And strength does not mean physical strength. And also, you might be gay if you're writing a gay character. Those were the takeaways that I got. I think the things that make a strong female character are the things that make a strong male character, because they're the things that make a strong character. And it's drive, and it's courage, and it's bravery, and it's self-sacrifice, and a willingness to do for others and put yourself at a disadvantage in some cases. Sometimes it's physical strength. But I think a strength in character has more to do with knowing who that character is, what their strengths are, and what happens when those strengths are dialed up to 10 and it puts them at a disadvantage. What do they do when their weaknesses are showing? How do they treat other people? It's the same like you go on a date and somebody's like, I judge people by the way they treat the wait staff because you don't have to treat the wait staff nice. It's not a boy-girl thing. It's a strong character thing. And I don't think that there were many things in this video that really spoke on how to create a strong character. But there were things in this video that felt like hating on female characters, which is kind of a funny choice to me, considering this is supposed to be in honor of Women's History Month. But those are my thoughts. This video is already way too long, so let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on her advice. Did you get anything from it? What do you think of the conversation in general? And yeah, with that said, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and don't die.
Was that Wayland Cross in the trunk? Do you know, or is that something that's still being figured out? The person in the trunk was not Wayland Cross. Is he in trouble? We don't know who did it, but as the owner of the car, the longer he's missing, the worse it looks for him. Cross isn't a killer. For the last couple of years, the average number of murders in Baltimore has been over 300, and it's been going up. Mind you, that's only whatever the badges count as official murder, and believe me, there are people that don't count when they die. Wayland? If you're down here, tell me. I'm not talking to the badges, I've been looking for you. They found a body in your trunk. Why? Did you do that? To the left, plain black letters read along the wall. You walked in the corridor. Once that ends, you chose the dark is on the right. My vision goes blurry, flickers black and black for longer intervals until I can't see anything at all. I'm not screaming anymore, but my voice echoes back to me. Where the hell am I? You're dead, Josephine. Even smart people do stupid shit sometimes, right?